IBD and sleep. So specifically, we're going to talk about ulcerative colitis because with ulcerative colitis, there's typically more bowel involvement, and so there's people are more likely to have more symptoms unless you have Crohn's in the colon as well, which you can also see some of those symptoms increase at night. And if we look at the stats overall, about 70% of people with IBD have trouble with sleep. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's going on and what we can do about it.
Yeah. So, like you said, Ashley, there's, one big reason why we could have more disrupted sleep with ulcerative colitis, that being, of course, the bedtime bowel movements, but also medications play a role too, especially prednisone, the lovely steroid that can wire you for most of the day, and it may present in the evening as well. And then there's also the stress and anxiety that's sometimes associated with having a chronic illness to, get off the brain as well.
Yeah, certainly a lot to think about. And yeah, with prednisone, it's kind of one of those things. There's not all that much you can do but ride out. I mean, there's things you can do to sort of cope with it, but you certainly can't change the fact that it does create insomnia in a lot of people, especially at the higher doses. Can be a lot harder just to wind down and fall asleep.
Yeah, that one's always an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, in my experience, it kind of feels like being both wired and tired at the same time. You're just kind of like a weird combination. You can be extremely exhausted, but then also having this feels like adrenaline running through your
Yeah,
body.
absolutely. I found too, whenever I was taking prednisone, like taking it as early as I can in the day can be helpful. But like you said, at those higher doses, there's a point where you have to wait to ride that piece out. And as you wean off of it, that sleep can slowly improve. But there's not a whole lot of strategies to help with prednisone other than taking it earlier. What else? Like, guess when it comes to those frequent bowel movements at night, there's a lot we could talk about there when it comes to dietary advice. So, what's one of your favorites, Ashley?
One thing too, like it could be frequent bowel movements. It'd also be like gas and pain and discomfort, which can be hard to want to lay down and wind down if you're having lots of gut symptoms. First thing that comes to mind to me is I love to do a ginger tea or chamomile. They both have carminative properties that can help break down gas particles. So I love doing that. And plus, with ginger, you get some, if you have nausea, that can help a little bit with the nausea as well. So I love doing like ginger at nighttime just to cut down on gas and bloating with people. But if people are more prone to like the diarrhea component, then we want to look further at how to modify the stuff at the end of the day that could be leading to additional bowel movements or stimulating the bowel. So anything that stimulates, you want to try to find ways to decrease that. And a lot of that has to do with what we add too, not just what we take away. So adding soluble fibers, adding things that can soak up some excess moisture and kind of slow down that transit time would be a pick for that. So stuff like I love squashes and stuff. Usually they're well tolerated in flares. They tend to kind of have more of those soluble fibers to help. But then I think layering those things in throughout the day can also be helpful. So like, oats or oat bran at the beginning part of the day. So you're kind of preparing yourself by layering stuff in throughout the day, but particularly at night is when we really want to start to pay attention to what we're having and try to avoid things that are going to stimulate the bowels.
Yeah, like maybe some of those spicy foods are not having caffeine too late in the day.
Yeah, definitely caffeine can be a trigger.
Oh, yes, yes. Um, let's see. Other things to think about too, kind of when it comes to food, but also routine, is that if you are someone who always eats their larger meal at the end of the day, that may be something to be mindful of too. Is there a way to spread more of your intake throughout the day, not eat too late before going to bed as well? Try to give your body at least 2 to 3 hours before your supper and when you actually lay your head down to go to bed can be a helpful component. Because quite often in the evening as well, again, depending on how you're feeling, you eat supper, maybe you walk around the house or go for a walk after as well, just to help support digestion too.
Yeah, that's a good one. I forgot about walking. Walking's such a good and like easy. Like you can even just do 10 minutes and it's a great way to wind down and support.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be like a brisk walk, right? Like just taking your time around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing some of that at night too. And it does really help even just with winding down because so often I think with the way we all are, it's especially post COVID, like there's a lot more um I feel like in general, there's been a lot more like indoor activities. So you're spending more time watching stuff. You're in that routine. And so you're getting a fair amount of like blue light exposure when you're watching stuff.
Mhm.
And if there's no like wind down period, and for those of you that aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, with blue lights, we have changes in melatonin production and it can affect your circadian rhythm in a more negative way, especially the more blue light we're exposed to. In these days, we're exposed to so much more, and that can interfere with our body's ability to wind down and fall asleep. So I think walking can be a great breakup of that activity because one, you're getting outside of the current routine, sort of breaking up your day a little bit, and can help you like just calm down your nervous system too. Even just like being outside and that movement can sort of wind you down a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought something interesting up too, Ashley, where I think too, like since 2020, more people working from home. And I feel like often enough people have that like downtime when they go from, where they work to home, like driving in their vehicle. And I work from home and I'm like, oh, I don't really have that anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, going for a walk after work or even after supper multiple times in your day, if that is what you fancy, just can really be a great thing for the brain and for your guts.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And definitely avoiding working late at night. I notice a big difference. Like if we're in a busier season and I start having more days where I'm working late at night, it definitely affects my sleep quality. And not even just like late at night, like 10 or 11, but also even as the sun goes down, I always try to like shut it down because if the sun is gone down and I'm still working, I know that my sleep is going to suffer after a couple of days of that.
Hmm. Very interesting. Hey, how that can impact things too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, definitely walking can be a good tool. Watching your soluble fibers, increasing those, decreasing your caffeine, spicy, any sort of bowel stimulants. If you have trouble with fat malabsorption, for example, we may want to even be mindful of the amount of fat present if you're somebody that tends to have like floating stools or see oily stools. That can be a sign that you might want to be mindful of it.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other routines you like adding into play when it comes to sleep?
I did want to mention something else that comes to mind. Nutrient deficiencies are common with IBD.
Mhm.
And particularly when we think about ulcerative colitis, one of the big ones that we see quite often, especially if you're having blood loss, is anemia. And anemia, you know, one of the things that it can create in terms of nighttime is restless legs. So if you're someone who struggles with anemia or even so low magnesium and low iron, you can experience restless leg with that. So making sure that you are treating the anemia and that you have a good plan in place for that can also be helpful. Yeah, and restless leg, I don't know if you've ever had that before. Just kind of feels like the name says, like you just kind of feel antsy or like a weird feeling in your legs. I've definitely had that, especially when I had kind of more of a long term anemia.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No, not at all. It can definitely interfere with your sleep. And then the other one I want to throw out is vitamin D. So if your vitamin D is low, that can also interfere with your circadian rhythm to an extent too. So you do want to make sure all your nutrients are in check and that you're getting enough overall. And if you're somebody that needs a little bit of support with that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll put a link below as to where you can find more resources on how to work with us and how to get some support more customized to you. All right, everybody. I hope this was helpful, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.